Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Welcome, everybody, and we're going to be talking about the many reasons you should be making kefir butter. A few weeks ago, I went to speak at this place called 123 Farms, which is a wonderful place to go if you're ever in the area. I think it's Spring Hill Ranch Farms in California. And honestly, one of the biggest reasons I go to speak there is because they have this kefir culture butter that I love so much that I always go up there to get it because I think it tastes so delicious. And it's really so crazy good, it inspired me to make my own. And certain cultures around the world prize butter as a superior nutrient-dense food that is made at a certain time of the year when the cows are eating growing green grasses, and those grasses contain a very high amount of vitamin K2. Now, vitamin K2 has been referred to as the X factor by Dr. Weston Price. He has been called the Isaac Newton of nutrition, and he traveled the globe in the early 20th century studying the relationship between diet and disease in different populations all around the world. After his travels, he conducted groundbreaking research back in his laboratory, and he was able to pinpoint what nutrients were responsible for the extraordinary health and physical development of the native people he studied. He was on a constant search to find the causes of dental decay and physical degeneration that he observed in his own dental practice. He discovered that the non-industrialized diets were high in some very unidentified nutrients, which seemed to protect these people from things like chronic diseases, tooth decay, and they seem to just literally thrive. He referred to this special nutrient as activator X, which is now believed to have been vitamin K2. Now, vitamin K2 and vitamin K1, most individuals believe the benefits of those two were the same, but they are not. Vitamin K2 is limited to its role in blood clotting, and vitamin K and K2 are different forms of the same vitamin. The role of vitamin K2 extends far beyond blood clotting, and it may help in the prevention of a bunch of chronic diseases. But vitamin K2 has many functions that are not associated with vitamin K1. So many researchers insist that K1 and K2 are best seen as two different vitamins entirely. Most people are deficient and not getting enough vitamin K2. That is being seen more and more. Vitamin K2 is called menaquinoline, and it is predominantly of microbial origin. The K2 that is produced by your gut bacteria in your large intestine, and many researchers suspect that the broad-spectrum antibiotics contribute to a K2 deficiency. Cultured foods such as kefir, sauerkraut, certain cheeses, actually a lot of cheeses, and natto, which is a fermented soybean, can save substantial amounts of vitamin K2. The body easily absorbs what is needed thanks to the microbes in these foods. Vitamin K is also found abundantly in butter from cows who have grazed on grasses, especially wheat grasses and alfalfa, in a lush green state of growth. That's when you get all the kinds of vitamin K2 in the butter. But commercial butter is not a significantly high source of vitamin K2 because those animals aren't, eating the lush green grasses. And it especially happens in the springtime and early summer is when those grasses really have the most, you'll get the most vitamin K2 from them. So let me explain to you about vitamin K2 health benefits and how you can get it. Vitamin K2 has been shown to reduce the risk of prostate cancer by 35%. And I have research on that. It also protects against leukemia and might even be used for the treatment of leukemia in the future because it's so promising. Vitamin K2 may also help protect against heart disease by reducing calcium deposits in the artery. And some studies have even shown that it can reverse the calcification in the arteries. And that's really exciting research. And I have all the research to all of this. And I'll put that in the article. I always put a podcast with an article most 95% of the time. And so that you can see the research links and where I got this information from. Vitamin K2 helps to form very strong bones. It helps the skin stay healthy. It helps with the prevention of wrinkles, sagging skin, and even varicose veins. Vitamin K2 is really necessary for vitamin A to do its job. And vitamin A does its job by with proper skin cell proliferation. So it turns the skin over and creates new skin all the time. And vitamin K2 is very necessary for that. Now, Dr. Weston Price talks extensively about the role of K2 in tooth health and helping to prevent cavities, resisted by helping the dentin, and it produces osteolycosin, which is a deposit calcium into the enamel, which is really important for healthy teeth. Now, brain health can also be improved by eating more vitamin K2. And these foods have shown to sharpen the memory and starve off dementia in older adults. So it's very important as you age, as well as when you're young and developing your teeth and your bones. It's very important for all ages. So the immune system is greatly enhanced by vitamin K2, specifically as it fights off inflammation. It strengthens your immune system, allowing you to fight off pathogens better, which is very important. It is clear that vitamin K2 plays an essential role in bodily functions, and I have seen it help my family tremendously, especially in the very early days of eating cultured foods. That's when we discovered how important it was. And I remember adding that to our diet, and I really saw a difference in our health. And I had younger children at the time, and it was a big help to us, and kind of made a believer out of everybody. So one of the greatest ways to get it is through fermented foods or making your own cultured butter. So if you are lucky enough to get raw cream from cows eating lush green grasses, which is hard to find, you should be making your own butter regardless. But if you don't have that luxury, and I don't always have that luxury either, then culturing your butter with kefir is a wonderful way to get those benefits too. It will load your butter with probiotics, and the microbes will produce more vitamin K2 in your gut as well. So it's fun, it's easy, it's so delicious. You'll wonder where this butter's been all your life. It's so good. It's really fun to make. And you can make kefir butter with kefir grains, but I have found that that's not the easiest way to do it because the grains will get stuck in that thick cream and it's really hard to get them out. You got to stir and stir and stir and they get all clumpy. It's okay because you can, even if you make it, you can still use them and put them in regular milk and it kind of dilutes some of the cream that's on the butter, but it's kind of a pain to do. But if you use my Easy Kefir Starter, which is made from kefir grains. It's just a powder form, so you don't get the grains, you just get the powder form because they're actually made from kefir grains. Then you don't have to dig out the kefir grains. And it's so fast and it's so easy. And it actually is one of my favorite things to do. So you just need a little food to give to the kefir and the powder and a prebiotic because cream does not have very much lactose in it. It's like 1 gram of carbohydrates in a cup. So your microbes are going to need more food than that. So I give them a teaspoon of things like Prebio Plus, but you can also use sugar, and you're not going to get the sugar the microbes are. Or you can use things like date paste to feed those microbes while they're making your cream into cultured butter. And you just need a little bit of food to give it so that it has something to eat to culture the butter properly. So it's super easy to make, and I have all the instructions, and I'm put the link to that instruction, step-by-step pictures on how to make it. It's very, very easy. I can tell you how to do it. You're basically going to get a package of Easy Kefir, and you'll get 4 sachets. You only use 1 sachet, and you get some cream, some good cream. And you add 1 teaspoon of a prebiotic like Prebio Plus, which we have, or you can use a teaspoon of sugar, or you can use date paste. And you just put a sachet of Easy Kefir in the cream, in a jar, and with the prebio or with the sugar or whatever you're going to use to feed the microbes, you put a lid on it and you let it sit for 24 hours until it's thick and cultured. And it gets very, very thick. And then after it's done and it's gotten really thick, you put it in a food processor. That works the best. Or you can put it like up in a stand-up mixer with the paddle, and you turn it on for 3 to 5 minutes, and the butter will start to separate into butter and buttermilk. You'll see the liquid and it'll start to churn and get thick. And when you notice that happening, you stop the food presser and check to see if you have a big bunch of butter clumps. And when you do, you pour that contents out of the food processor into a bowl. And I like to put it in some ice water. That helps. And use a rubber spatula to press out as much buttermilk as possible. So you take that butter, you'll see the liquid in there, and you can save that liquid, to use and drink and use in recipes, or because that will be cultured too. So that's something you can save and use the whey, because it'll be more a clear liquid. And once you put it in an ice bath, and then you put it in a strainer and you squeeze out all of the water, or actually it's buttermilk. You squeeze out as much of that as you can, because it'll make it last longer if you do. You could put it in a paper towel to squeeze it out, but save that buttermilk for cooking or drinking. So, and then you can put it in the butter into molds, or you can pour it into sticks. I use some silicone molds, and I just stick them in there, put them in the refrigerator, or you could freeze them. I froze some of the ones because I'll make a bunch all at once, and then I just pull it out when I need it. It can last several weeks in the fridge because it's cultured, so it lasts quite a while in the fridge, but it lasts a long time in the freezer. So, if it's at room temperature, normal butter will last 3 to 5 days. And 7 to 10 days. Actually, I think it'll last 3 weeks in the fridge because it's fermented and it's made with kefir, so it lasts a lot longer. So it really depends on the age of your cream. And honestly, one of the biggest factors is how much buttermilk you get out of the cultured kefir. Because the more buttermilk you can pull out of the kefir, the longer your butter will stay. Will last. Another thing that helps preserve the butter is to add a little bit of salt if you'd like. You don't have to, but salt is a preservative, and make sure you use a good mineral salt, but that will also preserve your butter. And you could even use a butter churn to make this if you don't have a food processor or a stand-up mixer. Either one of those will work. It does take a little bit. It takes 3 to 5 minutes to really get that butter to turn into butter and the buttermilk to start to separate from the cultured cream. And it's lovely, guys. And you can flavor these butters if you'd like. You can use some orange zest. You can lemon zest. If you want some flavored butters, you can make it into garlic butter to use for things. You could do all kinds of things. I've even put things like raspberries or some fruit to make a blueberry butter that just is really good. But most of the time, I just leave it plain. Salt doesn't allow it to stay longer. Just because it preserves it longer, so it gives you an extra week or so. But it does last a long time because it's cultured. When you culture something and add probiotics to any cultured food, it's basically preserving the food. And because the good bacteria keeps out the pathogens, and it helps for it to last longer because it's a living food. And it does that inside of you too. So when you eat it, it helps to preserve you too. I have some recipes on my site where I've taken butter at Christmas time and turned it into a snowman, made little clumps, and used some rosemary for his hands and some little button eyes and a little piece of carrot for the nose. I've done that at Christmas. I've molded it into, I have a lamb mold that I've made the butter into for Easter. And I've done all different kinds of things with my butter, or most of the time I just do sticks or cubes for the butter. But whatever, people are very impressed by this, by the way, when you serve them homemade butter. And it's really fun to make, and you're going to get more vitamin K too from it, which everybody needs. And it's so good for the young and the old because it does different things, like I said earlier. But it's going to help your family stay healthier. Oh, and by the way, it makes the most delicious chocolate chip cookies ever. I have sourdough chocolate chip cookies and an einkorn chocolate chip cookies that I make that are actually oatmeal. And I use my homemade butter in it. Holy cow, is it good? It's delicious. So it makes wonderful recipes, and it's really fun to make. And you always want to take care of your gut health any way you can. Help those microbes in your gut because people don't know they're there. I mean, you're 100 trillion microbes, and all they really care about is you. And what you eat and what you do depends on how well they thrive and live. And once you start taking care of them, I have a friend recently that I've been helping who's been very sick and been taking a lot of antibiotics. She had never tried cultured foods, but she's just decimated her gut bacteria. And she started developing food allergies, which is also one of the things that happens when you take a lot of antibiotics, you kill off a lot of bacteria you need that helps you to digest your food and keeps food allergies at bay. And so I helped her. She started making kefir, and she put some simple red powder in it. And she took some HMOs to help build up her bifido, which I have many articles and podcasts on if you're interested in that. But anyway, now what she's noticing is every day that she has her kefir smoothie, she feels great. But if she goes a day or two without it, she starts to get a lot of inflammation. She starts to have histamine reactions. She even, threw up some of her food. She's really struggling to not to do the things that she normally does. She says she feels great when she has the kefir. And I suspect that because it has 19 anti-inflammatory properties, kefir, that it keeps her inflammation down. It helps her digest her foods. And without it, the inflammation rises. And when that inflammation in her body rises, she starts to get histamine reactions because she's missing some of those bacteria that she needs. That's helping her, and it's just taking a while for it to build back. But she goes, I literally can't go without it now because she's helping her even with food allergies that she never had before that had just recently sprung up. I see that a lot. Usually that's from an overuse of antibiotics that have killed off enormous amounts of gut bacteria. Anyway, she's getting better, and this is why I keep eating it and having it. You just get convinced. It does so many things for you. It doesn't just help with that. It helps with a myriad of things, blood pressure, and it keeps your heart healthy, and it helps you digest everything you eat with it. It just makes everything better. And just a smoothie a day made all the difference in my life. So another great way to do that is to make some kefir cultured butter and have that around for everybody. And it's actually very delicious, fun to make. And I think you'll be hooked on it once you try it. So thanks for listening, guys. I hope you try it. I will put the article and the recipe with the step-by-step pictures so you can see everything. It's pretty easy to make. And you'll see how much fun it is to make your own cultured butter and your own cultured foods. And if you don't want to do that, at least have a cup of kefir or have a little bit of kefir every day. It can make a huge difference. It certainly has for me. Thanks, guys, and we'll talk to you next time.